Thank you for the introduction. My name's Chris Beidelman. I'm the Director of Solution Integrations at Celigo. I've been at Celigo coming up on 10 years now. And today I'm joined by Stephen Caron. I don't know, Stephen, just want to say a quick hello and we'll introduce what we're talking about today.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. My name is Steve Karam. I am the Director of Partnerships and Alliances here for Pacejet. Been with Pacejet for a little over 3 years now, but very excited to be here. Glad everybody's been able to join.
Yeah, and today's session is going to be more of a discussion. Fireside chat is, both Steve and I have been in the industry for quite a few years, and we're going to be talking about these topics about order management and just the things we're seeing in the shift in supply chain dynamics and some of the other sort of lessons learned. And certainly we're open to questions on these topics, but I think we're just going to, kind of keep it very loose and informal. But like I say, it's more of a conversation here instead of us trying to sell you something. So that's the main focus here. But we do have a 30-second commercial here, just so you kind of understand who we are and what we do. So Celigo, it's been around since 2005, and we offer a iPaaS, which is an integration platform as a service. So this provides the ability to be able to connect anything to anything. People ask me, what do I do? Well, I like to think we're the plumbers of the internet. We're connecting business systems. As you can see, a lot of the customer and well-known names that are on this list are across many different industries. And so we'll kind of be talking about some of their sort of use cases today. We do talk about, we have well over 2,800 NetSuite customers, and we're one of the largest NetSuite partners, but we also integrate to a lot of other order management ERP systems, such as Dynamics 365, SAP by Design, Acumatica, et cetera, et cetera. And, finally, the recognition we got most recently from G2 is we were on the Best Software for 2021 award. And we were the highest ranked iPaaS solution. So we're very proud of that and of our platform here. So Stephen, why don't you tell us about Pacejet?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So Pacejet, for those who aren't familiar, we are a cloud-based multi-carrier shipping platform. You can think of us as sort of the single point of connection for our customers to be able to connect to the variety of different carriers that they may work with and make sure that that shipping information is easily executed and then returned to the various business systems that they may use. If you think about Pacejet and what we really do, there's 4 key functions to our platform. It's quoting, packing, shipping execution, and tracking. There's a ton of things that we do in between those 4 main pillars, but those are the big pieces that we manage. And again, it's really designed for customers who are shipping almost anything, almost anywhere, whether it's a single box going out to a customer's house, or if we're talking about multiple boxes going on multiple pallets that are going to be shipped out to, let's say, a retail trading partner's location or a distributor warehouse. We've got connections to over 65 carriers, and those are direct API connections to those providers. So those are real-time rates, real-time data being passed back and forth. We have integrations to just about 10 ERPs currently. We integrate to a number of different systems, other ISVs as well, and with our relationship with Celigo can connect to a number of different systems in addition. But again, our focus is really on omni-channel shipping support, helping customers ship in a variety of different ways to a variety of different locations and customers, and making sure that ultimately their information is getting to, one, their customer, but also into the business systems that they use on a day-to-day basis, which sort of brings us into our next topic, which is order shipping management for omni-channel businesses. And so Chris and I are going to sort of talk a little bit about just the overall order to cash, order life cycle. I'll speak to things from a shipping perspective, but Chris, do you want to open it up and just talk a bit about the order management side of things?
Sure, thanks, Stephen. So, I've been doing these type of integrations since the mid 90s and through the .com era, and certainly the changes I've seen over this time is kind of mind blowing. And if anything that COVID has done in the last year is accelerated the exponential growth to online. The common thing that we've had conversations with customers is, a lot of them had storefronts, um, and of course those got shut down. So now all of a sudden they had to shift their order management to online, and many times everyone's kind of talking about, wow, we had all these manual processes. We used to, not get that many orders. Now they exploded, and especially if they were an essential business or service. I mean, we had one customer who was selling PPE, and others that were selling, food distribution and other type of things that their sales went off the charts. So now they had a big problem of almost too many orders. So how do they do that? And so um, the growth we've seen in the different types of, say, omnichannels, because everyone's selling on Amazon and eBay and Walmart and on and on and on. They need to be able to have that sort of visibility. So the shift we've been seeing is just the communication and that sort of real-time inventory visibility. And of course, Steve will talk about the shipping rates and just being able to get that information out to everyone who wants to know where their package, what is the status and stuff. So we've had a lot of different conversations we haven't had before, or like I say, the shift, and I think it's kind of the new normal now is just that online presence that everyone has is just growing and growing exponentially. What about from your side of the food chain
Yeah,
here?
I would absolutely agree. From a Pacejet side of things, last year, right when COVID hit, there were a couple things that we noticed. One was, depending on the customer and depending on the systems that they already had set up pre-COVID, the folks who had an online storefront or an e-commerce platform, they had connected systems in place, whether it be a cloud ERP, whether it be that e-commerce platform, but they had the channels necessary to communicate to their different trading partners, to their different order management platforms and shipping platforms. If they had that set up, they saw exponential growth in their shipping volume. We've got a customer who ships out home office supplies. Their volume went up 300% in the matter of a week. And you saw that across our customer bases. Those customers who were ready and who had the systems in place to be able to manage really the scale of orders that was going to be coming in, their volume exploded. And it was important from our perspective to make sure that we are working with them so that if they're getting their orders into their ERP, if their orders jump up 300%, we're able to effectively manage that change in terms of shipping volume, not be the bottleneck for them to get those orders out the door. But then, like you said, Chris, get the information back into the ERP, make sure that we can get that information back to their various systems so that they've got tracking information. We know what items have gone into each box, and they're able to relay that information to their customers. And that's really on the kind of the B2C side of things, but we also have seen a shift as well on the B2B end,
Yep.
where customers have who are selling to other businesses are also shifting in the direction of e-commerce or virtual selling. Everybody's had to do it because of last year, but we've definitely seen a big increase, and I think we've seen people think it's a little bit more effective than it was previously. But again, on the shipping end, it's incredibly important for us to be able to make sure that our customers are able to scale as their volume increases. And like I said, those folks that were ready, who had the different business systems in place to be able to manage that volume, saw an absolute explosion of growth, where the others were sort of left scrambling to make sure that they could still get the orders into their different systems, be able to communicate effectively with their customers.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, you just brought up a point I've seen is because of the shift to online sales and everything else, and now that everything's starting to open up, what's changed also over even just the last few years is sort of this seamless user experience that people want. So if somebody goes into a store, does a point of sale at a storefront, takes something home, they want to be able to return that over the web store. And get it back to the warehouse, or be able to have the visibility, or we'll be talking a little bit more about the shipping side of things here in a moment, but just that visibility of the inventory and costs and everything else to be able to have that at their fingertips to know that they just received a shipment at the warehouse. It just got stocked in the shippable location. Now your available inventory is available, and be able to push that out to the website, and boom, they're available. So
Yep.
it is just a phenomenal that how quickly, everyone wants that sort of unified user experience to be able to do anything on any device. And now, like I say, literally walk in, go on the website, walk in the store saying, yeah, I just ordered this, and expect for that item to be ready for them to take home.
Yeah, that's sort of the Amazon effect on orders and shipping. Everyone wants all information at their fingertips at all times, and they want whatever they're ordering to get to them for free.
Yeah.
That's the new
Yeah.
expectation.
Yeah. Speaking of shipping, let's kind of talk a little bit about that, because Steve was mentioning that shift for being online and getting orders instead of going to the store. They expect that, and again, the Amazon effect of 2-day shipping. Everyone offering that free shipping experience, or even same-day shipping, which kind of blows my mind. I don't know if you want to talk a little about that, Steve, what you're seeing, or how that's even accomplished, because it's still, we get to see behind the scenes and the magic of what happens, and when you click that buy button off the web store, and how it can actually arrive the next day. It's kind of phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is everyone's trying to replicate the scale of Amazon, and trying to replicate as best as possible that same kind of offering to their customers, when in reality they just don't have the resources to be able to offer that service. And so customers are our customers, and a variety of different shippers can offer free shipping to their customers for a certain period of time, but in reality it's probably not sustainable. And so what's really become important for what we've seen from shippers is the ability to provide accurate estimates of cost upfront at the point of purchase, and make sure that that cost is consistent when it's time to actually ship the order out. It's one thing to provide a quote on the front end, but if you're getting hit with a 50% increase on the actual shipping cost on the back end, and our customer has to eat that cost, that's a huge impact, especially as you start to scale up orders. If you ship 100, 200, 300 packages a day, and you're getting a 50% hit every time from your quoted cost to actual shipment charge from the carrier, it's not sustainable. And so it's incredibly important for our customers and for shippers now to be able to offer accurate rates up front at the point of purchase, and have that consistency through to the back end, so that once it's shipped, you've got the same cost there. But to Chris's point, the same day shipping, the ability for customers to flow orders through and get accurate information to the point of shipment in a day's time, it's not an easy task. You need to make sure that you've got connections from your e-commerce site to your ERP, from your ERP to your shipping platform, and then you need to make sure that those orders are prioritized and able to be shipped out in a fast enough manner that if it's getting out, or if the order is placed at 6 o'clock a.m. or 8 o'clock a.m., it's got to be shipped out by noon with UPS. The truck has to be there and has to be picked up in order for that to arrive in a timely manner.
Yeah, you bring a good point, because I don't think some people realize, or maybe they're so overwhelmed by what data is required to actually accomplish that. Because one of the common integrations we've been doing for years is, even though you may buy an item and it has a certain size and weight, a lot of warehouses may have a device that can actually, the packaging or whatever it may have has, you need to know the length, width, the height of that, what box it's going to go into, and the end weight, because that's the only way you're going to be able to calculate shipping and rates. And so if that information doesn't reside as part of the item profile, or within your ERP or your warehouse management system, then you're just guessing, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Because what we see a lot is our customers end up using Pacejet as that tool. We either add fields to the ERP, or we end up using item data inside of Pacejet that's then saying, all right, what's the total volume of these items, what are the boxes that they fit into, and then how do we rate shop that against the different carrier accounts that our customers have. And so if you don't have that information, you're either going off of weight alone or ship from, ship to, and then some rough guesstimate of the total weight of the shipment, which if you really have it honed in, it can be close, but it's never going to be as accurate as having full dimensions, full weights, and accurate estimates on packaging up at the point of purchase.
Yeah. And, that kind of leads us to, that's B2C, but, this shift to B2B, as we were talking about before, you need even more data because, and we were talking about this earlier, Steve, that in order to be able to be a supplier for a big box warehouse, be it Home Depot, Walmart, even Amazon, they need information about that pallet. What is the size? And they have certain labeling requirements, and all this information, again, needs to reside somewhere. And, again, I've been doing supply chain for a long time, and EDI, believe it or not, it's been around for almost 40 years, and it's still utilized by almost all the large big box stores to exchange these different documents. So, this use case I'm showing here, if you're a supplier, you're going to get a purchase order from Amazon because they're buying product from you and turns in a sales order. So they're going to want to know that shipping confirmation, that ASN, it has to have certain information. So I don't know, Steve, if you want to kind of talk a little bit about that, at least from your viewpoint, and I can get into a little bit about the EDI side.
Yep. From Pacejet perspective, and really from the shipping side of things, it is our entire responsibility, and the only thing that our customers want us to do, really the only thing that any shipper should want their shipping platform to do, is be able to obviously help them get the shipment out the door. But at this point, in the shipping world, just printing a label, a carrier label, is for the most part not enough. You need to have full package information. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but whether we're talking about one box going out to one location, or if we're talking about 20 boxes that are packed onto 2 pallets, and you need to not only have pallet labels showing what is on that pallet, but you need to have box labels showing what is in each box that is packed onto each pallet. It's incredibly important to be able to support that kind of information, especially when we talk about shipments going to, let's say, a Walmart warehouse or any trading partner, Bed Bath and Beyond warehouse. You have to have that packaging structure, accurate package contents, and that information needs to be passed into your ERP. You can see in this case on the slide, we're using NetSuite as an example. We typically interact with the item fulfillment there, but whatever, if it's NetSuite, if it's Acumatica, whatever ERP it is, you have to be able to pass back accurate shipment data, accurate packaging information in order to generate that ASN and not get dinged by your trading partner or by or by, let's say, an Amazon for not providing accurate information in a timely manner.
Yeah, and I kind of want to air a little bit of dirty laundry here, because what Stephen's talking about is on this what's called package content, which is exactly what he said. You have a package or a box, has a size and a weight and length and dimensions, and what is inside and the quantity inside. Most ERPs we see, including NetSuite, doesn't have native functionality to actually store that data.
Yep.
So we often have to do extensions, or in this case of NetSuite, add a custom record as part of the item fulfillment to store that. And so like Pacejet will then import that data into the that custom record. So at least now we have a way, the data movers, the iPasses of the world, can then create the what's called an advanced shipping notice, or ASN, or EDI worlds, and 856 has to have that information as part of that generation of that. And one thing I guess you kind of led to, there's a bunch of acronyms out there, but UCC 128 is a unique number that is generated, crazy algorithm to be able to generate that, and that needs to be stored. So that is a unique number that can be scanned. So when they receive it at their warehouse, they can just scan it in, and they need to have that already in their system. So that's sort of what we do as a system integrator, is we can then take that information from whatever ERP or NetSuite, convert it into the format, and send it off via AS2 or FTP server that we're going to send it out. Or, hey, if they have a web service, that's great. But again, we're just translating the data, but it starts all the way back here at the beginning in the warehouse with somebody actually weighing and measuring and putting stuff in a box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That is, and going to your comments on the UCC 128 labels and kind of the overall onus being put on the shipper to determine that kind of information and make sure that it is compliant. That is definitely one of the big shifts that we are seeing, is just the trading partner is putting the responsibility on the shipper. And we're starting to see, previously, I would say when I first started at Pacejet, we saw a lot of customers who were much larger, had some of these systems in place and had some of the internal knowledge to be able to manage some of these processes and know the requirements in-house. But now we're seeing, smaller customers, folks who are just getting started in the EDI or in the trading partner world, who are having to manage these expectations, manage the different documents and the different information that's required. And it's a sort of a dangerous road to walk, because you can get hit with fees, you can get hit with penalties, you can maybe get delisted from a trading partner platform. But Chris, you're absolutely right. The ERPs themselves, in a lot of cases, don't have the native data to support things like, we call it multi-level packaging, so boxes on pallets. And so it's really important that shippers work with partners who know what is needed from an EDI perspective, so that you can get the right things set up. You can get your GS1 labels from a shipping perspective. You can get the correct ASN data back. You won't get hit with a fee. You won't get delisted. But then you're also able to, from a shipping perspective, get the correct items out the door in a timely enough manner so that you're meeting the requirements for, again, I know we've said Amazon probably 10 times already, but they're the ones who are really driving this push. But that 2-day requirement, that same day shipping requirement, it is incredibly important for shippers to hit this or hit those different marks, so that they can stay a part of those programs and maintain those different sales channels.
Yeah, and that leads, sort of to our next subject as far as this shift, because, the previous to COVID, a lot of people just depended on fulfillment services from Amazon or Walmart to be able to fulfill it. But because Amazon was only trying to handle essential goods, they actually did push a lot of responsibilities to back to the vendors or suppliers. And yeah, we saw a lot of shift from going from FBA to MFN. Now everyone's kind of scrambling around. Well, how do I generate my GS1 label, or how do I get that to my 3PL or whoever the shipper might be, or if I'm doing drop ship. I mean, it certainly changed the dynamics significantly, to do that and still expect that 2-day prime, or if you're now doing seller fulfilled prime, heaven forbid you miss that window, because the penalties are, and if you get delisted, severe. Yeah, we've been doing some crazy integrations, Steve. The shipping templates that are you have to have out on Amazon, because you can change from either being 2-day, 3-day to being prime. They're expecting us to be able to constantly monitor their inventory, and then when it hits a certain level, we'll actually go out in Amazon and automatically change those shipping templates so they don't overcommit themselves, if you will, because they can't, say they run out of stock in their warehouse, but they have a supplier or somebody who can drop ship, but it's going to be now 3-day or standard shipping as opposed to prime. So we have to instantly change that. And so that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, is this instant dynamics of changing the supply chain based on just inventory and movements and everything else. And this picture's, even though it looks complicated, it simplifies a lot of what has to go on, because there's so many moving parts. and having that visibility has just been sort of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and
Absolutely. There's a lot of balls in the air because, and even on the shipping end, it's not just what is the correct service level or who are we shipping this out with. You think, well, it's going UPS, or yeah, it's going UPS ground or next day air, but is it on the correct account number? Is it on your customer or on our shipper's account number? Is it on the trading partner's account number? Is it on their customer's account number? And how to kind of juggle what is shipping with what carrier on what account on what service level. If you don't have systems in place, or if you don't have some form to be able to manage that and organize that, it can be mind numbing.
yeah, and even that, the classic slow boat from China. I mean, folks still need to be able to have that visibility of knowing when that cargo is going to hit the dock and be
Yep.
able to get to their warehouse so it could be sold. Because yeah, we see a lot of people either pre-selling, and they need to know, exactly what is that time that and that change if the estimated delivery, or if a boat gets stuck in the or in the Suez
Yeah.
Canal, or,
Yeah.
wherever it
There's an
might be.
example.
It does disrupt the supply chain significantly. So we've seen even that impact kind of ripple through the supply chain. There was actually one point I also wanted to kind of bring up too about maybe even the GS1 labels or EDI, because people have a misconception that these are the same. I mean, there's standards. Yes, there's international standards boards that kind of provide guidelines on what these things should look like, but
Yep.
every one of them is different. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
Walmart's different from a Target, right?
Yep. Oh yeah. It's a
And
huge difference in not only the labels, but if you need trading partner compliant packing slips, everyone follows a different format, and so you run into uh, right out of the gate managing the different formats for the different trading partners that a shipper might be working with, but then also maintaining that. There are regular changes to templates. There's changes to the data that's required. So while it is quote unquote a standard process, it's really far from it.
yeah, and same thing on the EDI side, because a lot of people say, well, it's an EDI 850, it's a purchase order. Well, yeah, but every vendor's a little bit different. I mean, yeah, I try and equate it to the EDI 850 ISO standard document probably has, I think, about 4,000 lines that could be possibly in that message, but most of those messages actually only have maybe 80 to 120 different lines associated with the header information and the order and the shipper and the items and details and some of the other requirements and agreements. But each vendor can do whatever usage of those different fields in their own manner. So we have to constantly adjust to whatever the requirements are, and they do change. And so, yeah, it's a lot of work to get these things integrated and working together. But everyone's
Yep.
a little bit different. And the U.S. uses what's called an X12 EDI, and in Europe and a lot of other Asian countries use EDIFACT, which is a UN specification for EDI. So, even there, it's depends on the country. And, we haven't even talked about some of the challenges with, shipping around with in Europe. I've been having conversations with a lot of European customers because of Brexit now. UK
Yep.
inventory has to be separated because obviously now there's a totally different agreement between tax and shipping from the UK versus the rest of the EU, which sort of has an agreement. So
Yep.
it's complicated because it's sort of a mess that you have to sort of wade through that unless our recommendation is certainly we're working with a consultant who knows those regulations and what is required to be able to meet your financial needs, but also as far as be able to comply with your customers. Like,
Yep.
for example, Amazon, if you're shipping out of Amazon in Europe, you have to, within 24 hours, have to ship out a invoice to that customer with the proper VAT charges associated with that. But for Amazon, they don't easily tell you which warehouse they actually ship from, because now they're shipping pan EU instead of a single marketplace. So even though you ordered something in Germany, the stock is in Poland, so they'll ship it from there, and then there's a completely different VAT charges associated with that. So yeah, it gets complicated really, really fast, and we all have to sort of adjust. As I say, it's always Amazon, right?
Yep.
They're sort of driving the bus here, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, the flexibility you need to have in your supply chain is certainly huge.
Absolutely.
All right. I don't know if there was any kind of closing thoughts you had, Stephen, here, because I think that was our last slide before we can
Yeah.
start doing Q&A.
Yeah, I think we can open up to some questions.
Yeah.
We can give everybody a couple minutes if there are some.
Yeah, and there's lots of resources. At least from the Celigo side, we do have some different ebooks and on-demand webinars we've done in the past, as far as either selling in Europe or using in 3PL or omnichannel. We've done lots of webinars around Amazon and how to sort of navigate the waters there if you are an Amazon seller. So and eBay and some of the major marketplaces too. So certainly check out some of the links. And then I don't know, Steve, you want to say anything on the Pacejet?
Yeah, we've got plenty of resources. I know you can see here we've got the ebook on the tackling top 5 shipping challenges, and we've got also an ebook on growing e-commerce shipping. There's plenty of other resources on our blog. We've got a ton of different content collateral centered around, and again, all Pacejet does is we are the kind of the quoting, packing, and shipping engine that our customers use. And so if you think about things, sending orders out of the warehouse, getting the correct data back to the ERP or back to a different system, we've got tons of resources to be able to show that. And it actually looks like we do have some questions here.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say we had 4 come in since we kicked off the QA session. So this one's geared towards Pacejet. So Stephen, maybe you can answer this. We have someone that would like to hear more about the box size calculations. And they said, how does Pacejet calculate which items can be boxed together and how the package dimension is calculated?
Yeah. So what our customers will typically do with Pacejet is they've got their items, whether it's typically stored in an ERP. You've got dimensions for those items. Some of our customers have dimensions for all of their items. Some start with none and they just want to go with weight-based rating while they pop in their dimensions for maybe 30, 40,000 SKUs or 100,000 SKUs. But at the end of the day, what Pacejet will do is if you have dimension and weight information for your items, you can also store, let's say, class commodity information for your items. Pacejet's going to take that information into account when you run a rate shop function integrated with the ERP or with whatever business system you use. And we're going to take total volume of your items that are included in the order. So whether it's 1 SKU, whether it's 5 SKUs, different quantities, we'll be able to take that total volume and we're going to cross-reference that with any standard container sizes that you have set up in Pacejet. So as a part of the Pacejet implementation, we'll set up your box and pallet sizes, any of the standard ones that you have in the warehouse. That is a constantly growing and evolving list that our customers can manage themselves. But we will basically say what's the smallest box or boxes that this item or items are going to fit into. And then as soon as we find, well, we'll start with the smallest. If it's too big, if the volume is too large for those boxes, we run up the list and ultimately determine what is the smallest package or set of packages that these items will fit into. And so you've got your dimensions, you've got your weights. We can store commodity information to actually update the class of, let's say, a pallet for LTL rating purposes. So that's typically how we work. And there's a lot of adjustments that can be made to that. But if anybody wants to go into more detail on a specific use case, I'm happy to sidebar or get some additional information to you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Stephen. We have another one too. Do you handle Amazon's API requirement?
Yes, I guess that's a Celigo question. So I'm not sure what the requirement might be. I mean, Amazon throttles significantly as far as the information we can pull at a certain rate, but Celigo has what we call an integration app. So it's a pre-configured connector that has the common data flows you would expect for orders and shipments and products and pricing and such, and even Amazon settlements. So Amazon provides APIs, but they also have different services that you can request reports. Like, for example, if you want a inventory report from their FBA marketplace, you have to sort of submit a report request and wait for it to show up, and then pull down that request, and it's a giant CSV file which we can then parse out, and then it's either your inventory adjustments or your snapshot. So there's a lot of visibility that we can pull down from Amazon through their various APIs or async services that we can then get that into your ERP.
Thank you, Chris. We actually have one more for you too, Chris, that just came in a little bit ago. There are a lot of customers that require custom shipping documents. Is Celigo capable to handle those requirements?
No, we depend on the warehouse and Pacejet and others that can handle that. Even the printing of the label, as we talked about before, because it is more of a warehouse function. Again, we're the plumbers. We're moving data back and forth. So as long as that information resides at a location, or we can populate the data into the correct form or template that you may have, certainly that's where we can provide help. But no, we don't produce those kind of documents. But again, we can add attachments and other things. And most of the ERPs do have a different custom forms and other things you may need to include in a shipment. But most of the time, I don't know, Steve, if you have anything to add to that.
There's a lot of different tools out there for customers to be able to manage certain things, and Pacejet's going to we'll generate a set of documents. We can create some custom documents, but then we can also work with a lot of our customers will either manage certain things through Pacejet, or they'll work with other label specific programs to either generate their own, or let's say if they've got 40 or 50 different templates, we actually have integrations to be able to push that information out, print it out alongside. If it's a packing list, print it outside alongside a label. If it's a UCC 128 label, GS1 label that is custom created, that will print out alongside all of your additional shipping documents. But like Chris said, sometimes there's programs inside the ERP. Sometimes Pacejet can manage those. Sometimes our customers use other external systems. There's a lot of options to be able to manage it. If you want to talk through those specific options, it'll really depend on how many documents you need, but happy to talk through and make some recommendations.
Yeah, the bill of lading, is that handled by ERP or Pacejet?
That's handled by Pacejet. If you think about your shipping documents, Pacejet's going to generate, we'll generate your parcel LTL, 3PL broker shipments. We'll generate your domestic international shipments. And then to a certain extent, we'll generate things like a UCC 128 label. If a customer needs a custom packing slip, we'll take a look at adjusting those depending on the information that's needed. There are some times where requirements will get past what we can do, and then we'll go to some of those partners. But again, it is sort of a moving target and very flexible depending on what a customer needs.
Yeah. Well, one thing you didn't mention, I mean, you talked about it, but like common carriers like the UPS and FedEx of that, how do you guys integrate with those systems as far as that?
So, connections in terms of how we integrate with like a UPS or a FedEx or regional parcel carriers, those are all direct API connections. And so those are annual certifications that come through. I think FedEx sends us a 200-page document to, actually, I take that back. I think it's like 2,000 pages. But we do an annual certification every year with our carriers. Again, it's sitting at 65 right now. I think it's 20 parcel carriers, about the top 25 freight carriers in the US, as well as 14 or 15 different brokers and a lot of regional parcel carriers as well. But those are real-time API integrated connections to those providers so that the rates that are coming back are real-time based on our customers' negotiated accounts or the different accounts they will set up. And then that allows us to certify not just UPS ground, but all the different service levels that are available as well.
Awesome. Okay,
Thank
Lynn,
you, guys. Yeah, thanks for answering that question and going into detail there. We got another question here for Stephen. How does Pacejet accommodate consolidation of items from an order to obtain the best possible rates in the fewest boxes?
So that sort of goes back to the auto packing question, and there's a couple different things that we can do there. The auto pack is going to take either, let's say you have 15 items in an order. We're going to find out what is the fewest boxes that fits into with our standard auto pack or predictive packing tool. We've actually rolled out some new functionality. Think of it like strategic shipment planning. If you've got multiple orders that are going to be going to certain destinations, we can sort of combine those and consolidate those. That can either be done on the fly, or you can do it inside of Pacejet manually. But if you think about the Pacejet auto packing or predictive packing tool, standard function for that is to say, what are all the items in the order? What are the fewest boxes that these items fit into? So that's pretty well out of the box auto packing functionality. But that can be adjusted if needed.
Thank you, Stephen. Looks like those are all the questions we've had come in so far. If anyone else does have a question, feel free to still send it over, or even email Steve or Chris here with questions you may have to follow up. Yep, and there's also our contact info there on that screen there. So Chris, Steve, I'll let you guys go ahead and close things out if you have anything else to say.
I think the only thing I've got is just thank you, everybody. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate the questions. Chris, thanks for joining me here today. I think this was a good time. I enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, in preparing for this presentation and just the actually during this conversation, we had some different things we brought up, and it's been a lot of fun kind of collaborating and sharing our experiences here. So hopefully everyone got a little bit, learned something today.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Just to remind everyone, we will be sending out the recording at the end of the session, including the resource links that was on the last slide there. So be on the lookout for follow-up.